Welcome back to Nia Explains It All with Oslo Rep Engage. Have you ever heard a theater person talk about Sitzprobe? Well, today in Nia Explains It All, I'm actually not explaining anything. Instead, I've invited music director Sinai Tabak onto the program. He's going to explain the term Sitzprobe and why it's important. Sinai is explaining it all today, and I am just along for the ride. So, Sinai, welcome in. Would you tell us what exactly is a Sitzprobe?
Sitzprobe, which, if you were to use the correct German pronunciation, I believe would be Sitzprobe. It just means a sitting rehearsal. What we do is, in a Sitzprobe, it's the first time that we have the cast and the orchestra rehearsing together. So usually what will happen is I'll spend 3 rehearsals with just the orchestra rehearsing the music, and then we'll bring in the cast for the Sitzprobe, and everybody gets together for the first time, and we hear the show from top to bottom with orchestra and cast singing, playing together. And it's a very magical moment.
Absolutely. I think Sitzprobe might be one of my favorite rehearsal days. But for those who are less familiar, would you walk us through? The actors are there, the musicians are there, we all come in, we sit down, we look at you, and then what happens next?
I always like to start with introductions and make sure everybody knows who they are. And then usually we just start right at the top of the show. There's nothing like that very first, I think Evita has the best one, where it starts off with like this really, really kind of sad funeral music. And then all of a sudden the guitar kicks in. And like you can just feel the whole room like catches fire. It's so exciting.
I have memories of moments like that from the Sitzprobes that I've been to, and they're genuinely magical. So finally, to finish this off, we're going to take a look at a short clip from The Sound of Music this past fall. This will be a section from Do Re Mi, where Maria and the Von Trapp kids are singing together for the first time. And so we'll listen to 2 versions. The first will be in rehearsal with just our singers and a rehearsal piano, and then we'll take a look at the finished product in performance with our orchestra and everything coming together. Sinai, are there any specific differences that you want us to listen for between the 2 versions?
I mean, I think what's interesting that you might be able to pick up depending on the sound quality is not just the difference in sound, but also the difference in the energy that the full orchestra sort of lends to the performances. So you can hear a little bit of that. Another thing that's nice to listen for is how what the rehearsal piano is playing, how that gets expanded and assigned to different instruments. So what might be just the piano in the rehearsal room, see if you can find that being played on a violin or on a different instrument in the orchestra.
Amazing. So here's our first clip from rehearsal of The Sound of Music. Take a listen.
Bring us back to do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, mi, so, sol, re, fa, fa, la, ti, ti.
And here's that same exact section, this time in performance with the full orchestra.
That will bring us back to do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, mi, so, sol, re, fa, fa, la, ti, ti.
Sinai, thank you for joining me, and thank you to everyone else for joining me too. I will see you next week.